Ever seen a deer with vampire fangs? How about a 50-foot carnivorous shark? Or a lizard that can regenerate? They sound absolutely ridiculous, right? Think again. Each of these creatures is as real can be. Every year, once we think we've seen it all, the animal kingdom throws a curveball and introduces us to another cluster of never-before-seen creatures. These species are amazing, often a little creepy, sometimes cute, and definitely some of the rarest animals on the face of the earth. There's no Photoshop at play here, folks. These animals are 100% genuine. So, ready to meet them? What do you get when you cross a grass-grazing deer with a bloodthirsty vampire? Well, I'll tell you. You get this unique-looking creature, the water deer. While the name might lack intimidation, the fangs are still powerful and sharp enough to tear into whatever falls onto the deer's plate. Given that what's on the plate, of course, consists with a herbivore diet. The males boast much larger fangs than the females, maxing out at about 3 inches long. Technically, they're not fangs, rather oversized canine teeth protruding from the mouth. But that doesn't sound nearly as cool now, does it? These Dracula deer are native to China and Korea, usually growing between 30 and 40 inches long and standing between 18 and 22 inches tall, much smaller than most of its cousins. In places where it's not illegal to own deer, rarer subspecies can sell for upwards of $1,500. The water deer, due to its scarcity, would likely fetch much more. That's also why it garners considerable interest in the hunting community, with prize money often in the thousands. You've heard of hammerhead sharks, but what if we told you that there's another hammerhead animal out there? Yep, surprise, surprise, it's the bat. The hammerhead bat, with a wingspan of up to 38 inches, is the largest of its kind in all of Africa, and also one of the most strange-looking, if you ask us. These upside-down sleepers are usually found in the wetter areas, rainforests, swamps, and riverine forests. Thanks to the oversized larynx and the pronounced massive snout, male hammer-headed bats in particular can produce a seriously loud honking cry, enough to make any passerby stop and panic. For that reason, they've become recognized as one of West and Central Africa's most significant and most annoying nocturnal pests. That doesn't stop the hunters, though. In Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, hammer-headed bats are regularly consumed, with each catch likely worth upwards of $100. Whether you consider them peculiar or adorable, unless you're an expert, it's wise to keep your distance from these critters. Hammer-headed bats are prone to infection and are rumored to be one of the hosts of the Ebola virus. Alrighty, next up we've got what the heck is that? Okay, it's a dog, apparently. This obscure-looking beast was spotted casually walking in the streets, prompting Australian newspapers to investigate. With its strange-colored skin and hairless body, people, even local animal experts, were scratching their heads trying to decipher the truth behind this bizarre animal. Turns out, this isn't an alien, or some pig-horse hybrid that escaped from an undisclosed experimental research center. It's a hairless dog, and yes, you can own one, assuming you've got between $1,200 and $2,000 laying around. Keep in mind, however, that the pups are renowned for being social and needy, meaning that they can often suffer from separation anxiety, which can lead to destructive barking habits. With a coveted history going as far back as the 1500s, the crested hairless is believed to have accompanied Chinese sailors on the high seas, hence why it was also given the monikers of the Chinese shipdog and the Chinese royal hairless. Folks, cast your eye toward the Arcturus hispida, more commonly and comically known as the hairy bush viper. The slithering snakes can grow up to 29 inches long and typically skirt through northern and eastern Congo, southwestern Uganda, west Kenya, and northwestern Tanzania. This area right here. While it might look like it's just been to the hairdresser, the name is misleading. In reality, hairy brush viper's body is covered with elongated, heavily keeled dorsal scales. They give this animal the illusion of a shaggy head of hair, but the truth is that it's just an array of uniquely arranged scales. If you scour the web long enough, you'll find that the mostly nocturnal hairy brush viper was once sold for around $275 each. However, a bite can be fatal to humans without access to proper first aid and subsequent antivenom. So owning a snake like this is highly cautioned. You'd be far better off nurturing a harmless gerenuk, also known as the giraffe gazelle for obvious reasons. This long-necked antelope is found almost exclusively in the drier parts of East Africa. Populations have declined by 25% over the last 14 years, leaving only 95,000 of these adorable creatures out in the wild. The gerenuk is a shy animal, without any trick up its sleeve. Its first line of defense when disturbed is to avoid detection by standing motionless. If I don't move, they can't see me, right? For those waiting to see these lanky antelopes up close and personal, tourism lodges like Satao Elerai in Kenya offer the chance to view them in their natural habitat. Sure, it'll cost you a few $100, but that way the money goes toward conservation rather than fueling overpacked zoos. Speaking of zoos, for those that house the Gerenuk, ongoing costs can be mighty high. The Los Angeles Zoo, for example, spends $26 million in annual operating costs to look after all of its animals, covering vet bills, animal chow, and staff salaries. The Gerenuk is timid, graceful, and harmless, the polar opposite of our next VIP guest. Stay away from the darkest depths of the oceans, people, because one wrong move and you'll come face to face with the deep-sea grim reaper, the goblin shark. With the fear factor dial turned up to 11, the terrifying goblin shark almost makes the great white seem like a harmless bath toy. Practically a living fossil, with history dating back some 125 million years, this fighting swimmer combines its layers of razor-sharp teeth with a unique ability to open its mouth to a 111-degree angle. And if that weren't enough, it can also rapidly extend its jaw to the end of its snout. Good luck escaping that wrath. Since it spends its time hanging out in the deep, watery abyss, very little is known about this 13-foot-long shark. What we do know, however, is that scientists are looking forward to the day they can study this creature even further. Any additional insight into the goblin shark's history, habitat, or behavior will be worth a considerable amount of money. Hundreds of thousands at least. If scientists can understand the genetics behind its jaw-extending abilities, it could be a goldmine for future scientific development. Remember the lanky frame of the Gerenuk? Well, consider the Chevrotain pretty much the inverse. It's not a mouse, and it's not a deer, although we'd excuse you for thinking that this was some genetic mutation of the two. It's actually part of an entirely different family, known as the Tragulidae, whose members typically scamper through the forests of Asia and Africa. On the outside, the Chevrotain seems cute and cuddly, but make no mistake, these teeny critters pack a punch. Open up a Chevrotain's mouth and you'll find two long fangs. The needle-like canines are used to stab each other during conflict. Yikes. Perhaps the most intriguing fact, however, is their drum roll ability. Bear with us here. Chevrotains possess a lightning-quick stomp technique, able to slam their hooves down 7 times a second. This drum roll sends a message to predators and warns other Chevrotains that danger is imminent. Similar species go for upwards of $1,500, but the Chevrotain is incredibly hard to find, let alone own. We've all heard of Taz the Tasmanian Devil, right? With fur on his head made to look like horns and several rows of sharp teeth, Taz has been one of Bugs Bunny's more dangerous enemies for generations. But did you know that Taz was modeled off the real-life Tasmanian Devil? That's right, it's not just a cartoon, it's a real, living, breathing marsupial. Far less menacing than their cartoon counterpart, the Australian Tassie Devil may look fierce, but it would much rather escape than fight, and they're not considered a threat to humans. However, pound for pound, Tasmanian Devils have the strongest bite of any living mammal, so they can inflict some rather gnarly injuries. Once abundant throughout mainland Australia, the Tassie Devil population is dwindling, and they're now endemic to the small island state of Tasmania. In order to keep the species afloat, it was estimated that it would cost $11 million to preserve the Tasmanian Devil species. If any animal or human tragically lost part of its body in an accident or a fight, its world would never be the same. For one creature, one amazing little-known creature, it's just another day at the office. Should it need to, the axolotl boasts a remarkable ability to regrow its brain, spine, and limbs. How the... Okay, here's the lowdown. Axolotls react to injuries in an entirely different way than humans. In humans, the wound site is covered by skin tissue. In the axolotl, nearby cells transform into stem cells, allowing bones, skins, and veins in their exact original state to regrow. Scientists are working hard to decipher the genetic code and to find a way to replicate this for humanity. If they ever do, then it will revolutionize the healthcare industry to the tune of billions, maybe trillions of dollars. Even though it's colloquially known as a walking fish, the axolotl is actually an amphibian. While uncommon, they are available as pets, and for amphibians with superhero-like abilities, they're not as expensive as you'd think. Expect to pay between $20 and $70 on average, plus a couple hundred in yearly upkeep. If you've caught a few of our videos over the past few months, you'll have certainly heard of our next guest, the former apex predator of the ocean, the 60-foot beast that traversed the waters and took down anything and everything that slipped into its path. That's right, we're talking about the nightmarish Megalodon. The beast that went extinct around the end of the Pliocene period, some 2.6 million years ago when the planet entered a phase of global cooling. So if it's long gone and doesn't exist, then why are we including it in this video? Ah, that's the thing. Because maybe, just maybe, it still does exist. Many people, including both amateurs and professionals, believe that the great megalodon still glides through our oceans and has managed to elude human discovery all this time. So if you ever happen to see one for yourself, make sure you have the camera ready. Indisputable proof of the Meg's existence would be worth millions. If you happen to snap a pic, sell it to the press and live the rich life.